not be the same. Few people laughed. Few people cried. Most people were silent.
My name is Francisco Romero. I'm a program intervention specialist in Oxnard. Work at the Cafe Ane, providing services to over 1,500 youth over the last decade. Let me tell you real quick, I had this whole other presentation prepared, but now I'm working to respond the best I can to some of the comments made. First of all, this is classic bait and switch right now going on right now. What's happening, being presented, is we have not planned into the future. Juveniles can and will most likely be at it. There's a process, because it's a civil matter, where all they have to do is get the parent to sign a piece of paper. They put it in our kid's face over there in Oxnard all the time. So we have to look at that. The second thing is the language that is being used in regards to the those. Today, it was already said, we haven't planned to the future. We are not planning to do it. Doesn't mean that they're not going to do it. So unless it's specific, then it's gonna, the names will be added. Okay, mark those words. Okay, names will be added. Okay, now the second thing is, what statistics are being used to build a case? Are they actually gang-related incidents? What is the definition of a gang-related incident? What time frames, dates are being analyzed? Are the stats from years being used ago, being used now? And if so, why? Why are they being fused as incidents together to manipulate and invent an actual problem of a nuisance, which is what we're talking about here, a nuisance? This is an unjust and has already and will further cast Santa Barbara's reputation, especially in having that it's a tourist industry-related city. We have students that were 7 years old when they passed the injunction in Oxnard, said, oh, it's not going to target those. They were targeted. Now they're under the injunction, and we're working with them, and it does affect them on the way home from the program. It does affect them on the way to the program.
Time is up.
So,
I gave my 2 minutes.
I didn't. Did you name it there? So you're going to give your 2 minutes? Go ahead. You have another 2 minutes.
okay. All right.
You're taking up his 2 minutes.
Yeah. Now, I might have heard incorrectly. I heard it was a hearing and even a court proceeding going on right now. This is important because these are legal documents going into a case that's going to be used, that's going to affect generations to come, those yet unborn. Okay? This is a fact. Those yet unborn. If this injunction is like all the other ones, where he over here doesn't count for the chief to currently say we haven't planned that far into the future, we haven't thought about doing that, that legally doesn't mean that they're not going to do it. Okay? And so it's very important to really get a grip on that language, because you're opening up this, what they call it a tool in the toolbox. We call it a blank check that they're going to cash in later. They're going to cash in later, and the abuse of our youth will skyrocket. I will guarantee you that it's happening in Oxnard. You could just look at the brutality and the cases going on right now. So you have a decision to make tonight, or as you go through this process, you're going to go this route, the route of that, like Oxnard going, you have an opportunity to not do what Oxnard did. You have an opportunity to do what Port Hueneme did when we exposed the injunction. They said, no, we don't want to go that route. And it united the community versus divided it. Now, you could also redefine what we mean by public safety. Just because you're against the injunction doesn't mean you're for violence, right? What we're saying is, how do we redefine public safety? A path that so many of us are fighting for every day, which is justice, jobs, and education. Not this militarization, target zone, which is what they really are, strategies, prisons, and incarceration. That's the route you're looking at today. And so without this language of the bait and switch language that's being used right now, of we haven't thought about that far, we have to start over. They do not have to start over. They just have to add the list, add the names to the list.
Aurora, thank you. Aurora Marquez will be followed by Keith Terry. I think you submitted it. Someone's giving 2 more minutes? What's your name? Did you already submit a, so you're the next person? Okay. Keith Terry, are you waiving your 2 minutes also, or you're next? You'll speak. Okay. So you have 2 more minutes.
Yeah, that's a very important. So I probably could have read this, right? So I'll submit this document, by the way. I'm here to let you know that it has caused a problem. And it's important that we look at the core issues, which is unemployment, lack of access to support and resources, and education. Okay, injunctions are repressive measures, and again, you have that opportunity. Here we go. We've worked with people that were, in other words, it's a never-ending injunction. That's important to say. It's a never-ending injunction that, again, has the language of a civil lawsuit. So it opens up this Pandora's box of people being added. And so the notion that it's a limited in scope, that it's not going to target juveniles, that it's not going to affect anybody else other than those really, we should say 10 or 6 individuals, because the others are already under some type of prosecution under the current laws, because the power of the abuse comes through 3 things: the curfew provision and the association clause. That's everything else. I would say the community agrees. I would say even the police department agrees that we don't want people walking around with guns shooting people. We don't want people walking around selling drugs. We don't want these things. But at the cost of opening up the association clause, the scope and breadth of that to what is written in legal form needs to be looked at clearly and clearly challenged to the full scope of what the power of this body has. And if so, just like we did in Oxnard, take it to the court process. There's a case, an Anaheim case right now in the 9th District Court of Appeals that's saying the same thing that we're saying here. So why rush into this? Why rush into this and make these decisions and try to, like we said, do the bait and switch?
Thank you very much.
Okay?
Thank you. Keith Terry will be followed by Patricia Hiles.